square. How do I move him over?
I think Lanny could probably adjust that. Okay, we are live, everyone. We are live on Facebook and YouTube and X and LinkedIn. People are coming online from all over the world. Welcome to the Brian Tracy experience. I am joined by my siblings, David, the brave, Catherine, the magnificent, and of course, the doctor, Christina Tracy Stein. And then, of course, let's not forget the Brian Tracy himself. Hello, Dad. What flavor yogurt were you just eating?
Actually, I have blueberries and raspberries every morning to start the day.
The yogurt or separate?
Well, they're together, mixed up.
No yogurt. No yogurt.
Yogurt later, eggs later after that, and so on. I'm trying to eat less. I'm trying to eat less and less so I can look like I've been eating less and less.
Welcome, Thinking Time, Paul Kelly, Omar, Wiseview. Thanks for tuning in.
I say
our YouTube contingents online. We got the Philippines, Wiseview from the Philippines. We got Omar from Peru, Paul Kelly from Ireland, Thinking Time from Chicago. Probably eating some deep dish pizza.
Oh, Kelly, good for you, sir. And Omar, thank you. Nice to see you. And nice to see each of you. Thank you for being with us.
So Dad, and just family, generally speaking, the theme today is marketing.
Yes.
Dad, you're known as a sales expert and a guru, but marketing is the broader category.
Yes.
I believe you've had some interesting kind of origination stories in being introduced to marketing for this first time as a copy editor in Africa. Can you talk about that?
Well, I was struggling at one time selling for a stationery company, and I saw an ad in the paper for a copywriter for an advertising agency, and I went and applied for the job. And after interviewing me, the gentleman was very nice. I'll never forget it. Very polite, very courteous. And he looked at me and he said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You don't know anything about advertising, and you're here applying for a job as a copywriter. You don't even know what a copywriter is." And I said, "Well, what advice would you give me?" He said, "Read something on the subject before you apply for a job in the industry." So that set me off on a reading jag. I went down to the public library and checked out and read 20 books on advertising and copywriting. And meanwhile, I decided this is a challenge. So I took out a list of the advertising agencies in the city, the top 20, and I began calling and applying for a job from the bottom up. And every time they rejected me, which they did every time, I said, "What advice can you give me to do a better interview next time?" And they did. They were such nice people. I thought, darn, I want to be in this industry. And I kept going. I kept working at a department store at that time, and I kept my job and worked my way up. And finally, I got to number 2, second biggest agency in Africa, as a matter of fact, in Johannesburg. And they hired me. And I had a job, and it was Friday, and I was starting on Monday. And because I got a little bit better, more knowledgeable, read books, practiced everything else. So by the time I got to number 2, I was ready for the job. And then they called me Friday afternoon and said, "Alas, we have to withdraw our job offer because the person you were going to replace has decided to stay." And I was just crushed. And they said, "But we have some very good friends at the number 1 agency in the country, and we've called them and told them about you, and they would like you to work for them. And they want you to start on Monday morning." I almost couldn't believe it. I was so happy. I was so ecstatic. And I quit my job on Friday afternoon at the department store. And Monday morning, I started with the biggest agency in the country, the biggest agency in the continent, for that matter.
So, Dad, can we rewind a second and just how in the heck did you end up in Johannesburg?
Well, I set off to see the world when I was 20, and I traveled across Canada, and then I worked my way on a ship across Africa, and then 2 friends of mine across the Atlantic, and then to England, and then 2 friends of mine and I bought bicycles, and we rode bicycles across Europe, across France and Spain, to Gibraltar, where we traded in the bicycles and bought an old Land Rover, and then took a ferry across to Tangiers, and then drove a Land Rover. So it's a long story, but drove a Land Rover and finally got to Johannesburg 9 months later, 17,000 miles. And we went through a lot. And,
Dad, it's a long story. Is there a place where we can read about this story?
yes, there's a book called Success is a Journey. Actually, it's the first part of the travel of the journey to the other side of the set, and the other two parts of Success is a Journey will be on the market very soon.
Is it this one? Many miles to go?
Many miles to go. There it
That's
is.
the one, right?
A good setup question, David.
If you want to learn more about that story, this is what you want to read.
Anyway, what I learned more than anything else, bottom line, that great story was that you set a goal and you just persist in achieving that goal. And that's what I did. And myself and one other gentleman, Jeff, went from Vancouver, British Columbia to Johannesburg in 9 months, 17,000 miles. And we learned at that time that you can accomplish any goal you can set for yourself if you just persist. Just keep going and keep going. We almost died, killed, murdered, attacked several times, but we finally got to Johannesburg. And we learned at that time that it's possible to achieve anything if you're clear about the end and you just don't give up. And that's basically how all people succeed. We're talking just off.
So hey, so Dad, before we go further, what is copywriting?
What is what?
What is copywriting?
Copywriting is where you write advertising. And I learned how to write advertising at that time. And I have sold about $300 million worth of products in my lifetime from advertising that I have written, because it grabs people. Good copywriting dominates the world. Almost everybody who's watching has bought an enormous amount of stuff because of the way it was described. And you read the description and said, that's for me. I want that. And so I learned it. I was better than any of the other copywriters in the company. Over the years, I've been a top copywriter for many organizations. I have a natural flair for writing good copy. And the good copy basically causes people to want to buy the product now. And so everybody who's watching this, if you want to become wealthy, I really strongly advise you to read a really good book. Just go to Amazon, look for the book with the best stars on copywriting, and read at least one book on the subject so you know how to ask people to buy your product. It's astonishing how 80% of products and services fail. And the number one reason they fail is not because they're not good products. It's because they're poorly described. And they're so poorly described in comparison with others. Remember, everything you do is in comparison with something else and someone else who also wants to sell a similar product to the same people. And if your copywriting, if your advertising is not more attractive, then they will buy from someone else. And once they buy from someone else, if they're happy, they'll never come back. And the number one reason for business success is high sales. And the number one reason for high sales is good copy, good advertising, good promotion.
So David, Kat, Christina, have you guys seen any good advertisements or good copy that's compelled you recently to buy something?
Christina?
I know. I'm thinking of things I have bought recently.
All the advertising on television is copy. It's just copy. And
Billboards, just do it. All these ad campaigns for the products you're buying.
I mean, I think that what stands out to me, and this is something you teach, Dad, is just the idea that when you're describing the benefit of your product or service, and the idea that if you see something, some copyright, it's, oh, I want that. Like, so you always want it to be a positive thing that somebody wants, as opposed to promoting, a problem or talking about something negative, and like one example you give, Dad, too, is it's like, for the title of a book, right? You want the title of a book to be something that if you were to carry that book around in public, you wouldn't be embarrassed to be learning about it, right? So that it would be like a positive thing that people would be like, oh, what book is that? Oh, you're reading that book. So, and this comes up too, like, when we're teaching people how to present in the speaking academy, we want them to talk about the benefits of their program, the transformation, the positive outcome, so that the person listening is like, how do I get more of that? How do I find that?
I think it's important too, when you talk about good copy, it's not always designed to sell you something. Sometimes it's designed to create a viral campaign on social media. Yes. The recent example I can think of is American Eagle, the denim jean brand. They had that Sydney Sweeney woman on there selling denim jeans, talking about how she's got good jeans, and a lot of people got pissed off, right? Saying,
blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, blonde hair, blue eyes. She's got good jeans. These are all references to, I don't know, her being superior.
That's a great recent example, David.
It's not just about selling something. It's about getting people to have an emotional reaction and share things. And sometimes it's about creating anger in people and frustration, because then they're going to talk about it. They're going to talk about it for weeks and months. And, eventually you'll get the money. People will eventually buy the products. But nowadays, with the, attention being the most valuable commodity, if you can get somebody to promote your product by creating a viral campaign, it's going to pay dividends. So
isn't the phrase like any publicity is good publicity?
Yeah, there's no such thing as bad press. Exactly.
Yeah. So be a little provocative in how you promote yourself or promote your products.
Yeah.
Like this day and age,
Let me intervene here. I began to study economics, especially market economics, 40, 50 years ago. And I stumbled across something that just I was so happy, and it's changed my life. It said that every human action is an attempt to improve one's condition in some way. And human beings live basically to improve their condition. And so nobody can act. They're almost like mentally blocked to worsen their condition. So everything they do is to improve it. In advertising, marketing, selling, what you are doing is you are looking for a way to improve the condition of your customer. And so you'll find that people care about their customers, but you find that people learn about a product with their mind. But as Christina said, you buy the product with your heart. So therefore you have to connect with an existing need that a person already has. For example, you're driving down the freeway and you see a sign and it says, "Hungry?" ? Turn off at Harry's restaurant 2 miles ahead. And that connects with you, and you're hungry, and you're not hungry tomorrow, you're hungry now, and you turn off to Harry's restaurant. That's the point. In other words, you always want to connect with an existing need and hold yourself out as being the ideal solution to that need. That's the key to successful advertising, copywriting.
Dad, I had a recent example. Roman was like, "Hey, I want a pull-up bar," right? Because she's like trying to figure out how to do pull-ups and stuff. And I'm on Amazon and I'm looking at pull-up bars, and there's if you've ever seen one, just freestanding pull-up bars, they're not very interesting to look at. But the most compelling pull-up bars were the ones with the pictures with like the people who are super fit, with the big lats and the huge arms, and you're like, whoa, like. And you're looking at the pull-up bar, but what you really want is the result of using the pull-up bar. Yes. And so they're marketing the results, not the pull-up bar. And so
it's like diet foods. You show the person who's overweight, then you show the diet food, then you show the person who's thin and trim. So they make that connection and say, "That's for me. I want that. I want to be like that." That's
what you get the yoga trapeze.
Yes.
The yoga trapeze thing that all the kids love in my room.
Oh, yes.
That does the same thing, but you can do a lot more with it.
Okay, cool. I'll look at that. I wonder if they have compelling looking people using it on Amazon.
Pretty, yeah.
Well,
Less
Rowan's
expensive.
a girl, so she probably wants to have like a lean body, not necessarily buff pecs and lats. Like.
Well, I know, but I was compelled because of the pecs. I was like, I want pecs and lats like that, So like,
You were compelled.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's you. So, but one of the things people focus on the results.
Yeah, people don't buy products; they buy the result.
Yeah.
Right. And what you do,
like Christina, for example, Speakers Academy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
People don't buy the 3 days that they get to spend with you and Brian. They buy the confidence they'll have to professionally speak at the end.
Yes.
They're paying for the result.
Michael, tell us just a little bit quickly about Speakers Academy.
Well, Christina probably knows a little bit more about it than I do.
Christina?
Dad, since you and I do it together. Well, yeah, people come in who are like passionate and excited about their expertise, or they want to, get paid to speak. They're looking to improve their confidence as a public speaker or just a communicator in general. And we spend 3 days, and you make, you're right, Michael. It's not the 3 days that we're spending together, but it's the ability to organize your ideas in a clear, linear way that you can communicate clearly to others so you can convince them to take action. And, we have to be clear ourselves. And so learning that, or gaining the confidence to, speak up and show enthusiasm about your product and service, you cultivate that when you're spending time together at the Speaking Academy. So you walk out of there connected to the people with you, which is a benefit that, we don't actually promote, but the people who go through this program end up being best friends. I mean, I have all these groups of people who've gone through this program, and they have this relationship and connection to each other that is this ongoing support system, which is amazing. But yeah, the results of going through that program are what people are signing up for, not sitting in a room for 3 days. And yes, they do enjoy hanging out with Brian. That's definitely a perk. But fine-tuning your speaking skills and gaining the confidence to
May I make a couple of comments on the Speakers Academy?
Yes.
I began this when Christina was just beginning as a speaker, and I have given almost 5,000 talks to 5 million people in 74 countries. And I noticed over time that I was getting a standing ovation 9 out of 10 times all over the world, and even from Zoom seminars projected into Russia and South America and Spain and everywhere. And so we put together the formula, almost like a recipe. How do you become such a good speaker that people hire you and pay you $5,000 or $10,000 to speak each time? My speaking fees got up to and are at about $50,000 a time. And how do you get to that point? And the answer is you give a very good talk, but the key to the good talk is what people do at the end. And what we find is that our students get standing ovations. And so we teach people a process from basically when you open your mouth on the stage, developing your talk and your subject, coming to the end, closing, and getting a standing ovation. And the most amazing thing is we've had a couple of people who've been chancers, if you like. They've not spoken before, and they've come to our Speakers Academy, Christina and mine, and they've gone back and given their first public speech. One woman gave her first public speech to 300 accountants at her big multinational company. Her boss said, well, if you've taken this speaking course, then you should speak. And he gave her an assignment. She arrived back on Sunday. She told him on Monday, he had her up in front of 300 accountants, which are not exciting people, on Tuesday. And she got a standing ovation. She basically played the proper notes, followed the recipe, and got a standing ovation. Her boss was flabbergasted. That later on that week, she was appointed to a higher position. She was given her own office, and the next week she had her own personal secretary. It was changed her life completely. My point is that if you are really serious about becoming a really excellent speaker and influencing people and getting standing ovations, we have a Speakers Academy, 3 intensive days, no more than 12 people, and we will show you with workbooks and exercises how to do it. Oh, by the way,
we'll put the link in the chat if you guys are curious or want more information.
It's results.briantracy.com/ oh, there it is. Good. /go. But yes. And I think, Dad, I agree with you. One of the most valuable aspects of the Speakers Academy is learning the recipe, learning the formula, because it's not just on stage that people apply that. It's, in any kind of context, whether it's leading a meeting or being on social media or, however you're communicating to other people. When you actually organize your ideas and you have a formula that you do it with, there's so much more impact, and like your goal in speaking is to convince somebody to do something that they wouldn't have done prior to hearing you. And so you have to be clear about what you're asking them to do so that they're excited to take that action. And it really starts with you having like the clarity and the formula. So it's a really awesome experience.
Just to bring it back to theme, one of the most effective ways of marketing is being able to take a stage and communicate an idea or a message or a call to action in a compelling, influential way. I know, David and I did a lot of cold calling and door-to-door sales. And one of the best ways to make a pitch is, instead of making 100 phone calls, it's to take a stage in front of 100 people, for 15 or 20 minutes. And so it's a very, very effective way of selling, whether you're selling a product or service or just an idea, an idea or an opportunity. So the link is in the chat. You're welcome to take a look. Just to bring us back to theme, Dad, you've heard of the 4 P's of marketing, correct? What is it? Product, price, place, and promotion.
Yes, of course.
So how did you position your early products given that formula?
Well, the price is never the reason for buying anything. And I repeat that over and over again. People always think it's the price. And yet there's several stories in the last couple of months about the most elite suppliers of purses, and the most powerful purse, the most exciting purse, cost $50,000. It's handmade in leather in France.
This is like the Birkin bags.
Yes, the Birkin bag. But also,
have you guys heard of the Birkin? This Birkin thing?
Of course, everybody has. All women who don't live under stones have heard about the Birkin bag. Okay. The point is that there's Chanel and Gucci, Pucci, and Cartier. These all cost 10 times as much as their competitors with no names. And you know something? They're sold out, and people have to line up, and you have to make an appointment, and you have to demonstrate that you have an enormous amount of money. And then you go at your appointment time, and the guard lets you in, so you can go and spend 10 times as much on a purse or on perfume or something else. And why? So people say, "Oh, price is the key." Are you kidding? These people are lining up to pay 10 times as much for exactly the same result or benefit of a bag or perfume or something else.
I've heard you have to spend a bunch of money on not just the bag. You have to spend a bunch of money, and then if you spend enough, you're invited then to buy the Birkin bag.
That's just Birkin bags. The rest of the companies do a completely different.
Right. Okay.
And so, I mean, with the topic of bags, like some bags actually maintain resale value, but there's only a few top brands that actually maintain resale value. So as an investment, you'd only want to buy like those 3.
So let me ask you, and I know the answer, why do women pay a large amount for an attractive bag? Why would they pay that much for a bag from Gucci or Pucci?
It can only mean that other women recognize it as valuable.
I'm asking the women.
It's a status symbol, number one.
Yes, is because of the recognition. When people see that you're carrying that kind of a bag, they go, "Whew!" And your esteem, your prestige, your intelligence, everything about you is magnified because you're wearing or you're carrying a beautiful, expensive bag. And so we do it for prestige. We do it to look good, to look our very best. And so women are willing to pay a fortune for that. Now, I remember when I was single, I had more than one girlfriend. And
Is mom close by?
that was
Yeah, be careful.
that was before I met your mother. And after I met your mother, I only had one. And she was as expensive as all the other three. But nonetheless, I had three girlfriends, and it was Christmas time. And the worst thing you can do is forget what you gave a person as a gift. So I gave them all perfume, and I gave them all Chanel number 5, because Chanel number 5 had those beautiful ads with the beautiful model who was considered the most beautiful woman in the world at the time. What was her name? She was a beautiful woman, and the advertising line was Chanel number 5, expensive, but you're worth it. So I thought, that's what I'll get from my girlfriends, and I did, and I gave them each a beautiful Chanel number 5 gift for Christmas, and I never had to wonder which one I had given which one to, because they all had the same, and they were all delighted. So my point was, it's not the price, it's the prestige. And now let's go back to being in business.
Well, Margot Robbie is the new Chanel number 5 girl.
You kind of continued this with Christmas. I mean,
I received a Chanel number 5 perfume from Dad.
Yeah, one year we all got Chanel number 5.
I remember
I never got a Chanel number 5.
Yeah, but Dad only did this for the girls.
Yeah,
obviously, I know.
But I want to say something about like the tying this into the marketing piece, right? Because I know people who will buy a fancy car and dress a fancy way, even if they're not financially successful, because it lets people think they're successful and it gets them in the door to possibly have more opportunities. So sometimes it's, it's the prestige, but it's also the way you're marketing yourself or you're branding yourself to show that you have achieved success. So other people trust your knowledge and skills.
So what's the difference between marketing and manipulation?
It's also called fronting.
They're very closely connected.
Well,
I'm really asking. I'm curious what your opinions are, because they're sort of indistinguishable, right? I mean, one is okay, but the other is considered to be nefarious.
Well, there's some manipulation and influence are different, David. I mean, marketing is designed to influence a buying decision. Manipulation is like, I think, a little bit more. It's almost like if they were, it's like false advertising. Like they taking a pill, for example, and losing weight and gaining muscle and becoming like a super cool looking dude or chick. That's like, that pill's not going to do that. That's probably like manipulation. Versus like good marketing would be like, if you take this pill, the supplement over the course of like 3 months, maybe you'll have clearer skin and you'll have like more energy or something like that. So I think it's all in how you.
I need to interject here. I wrote a program. I've written more than 100 programs, but I wrote one program on branding. And I may have mentioned this before, but it's really important. It's called the 21 Secrets of Branding. In other words, and branding is the reputation that you have with the person you're trying to influence, not only before they meet you, but afterwards. So we say in my book on the 32 most important laws of money and success is your reputation is what people say about you after they have had business relations with you or met you as a friend and so on. What do people say about you? What words do they use? And especially what words do you want them to use? And here's the most important point that I learned in all my research on branding is that your brand, which is your reputation, your name, your word, the way you're thought of by others, your brand is composed of two things: the promises you make when you ask a person to buy your product or service, and the promises you keep afterwards. The promises you make and the promises you keep. So you said manipulation. Manipulation is where you don't keep your promises.
Yeah.
Whereas branding, well, the way people think about you as a good person, a positive person, a person of character, or quality, and so on. That's because you keep your promises. And in life, one of the most important things that you do is you keep your promises. You develop a reputation so that people always say he, she is a completely honest person. Whatever they say, they used to say many years ago, quick aside, I worked with the Hunt Oil Company in Texas. And Hunt Oil Company, one of the biggest oil companies in the world, the founder was a man named H.L. Hunt. And Hunt was a worker in the oil fields in Texas and Oklahoma. And many people start that way. And he worked and worked and worked. He's a worker, but he was also a gambler and he played poker. And once in a poker game, he had a really good hand and he won an oil lease. The oil lease had expired, but it was the opportunity to drill on a piece of land in Oklahoma. And he puts together some money and he drilled and they found oil. He became one of the richest men in America, the Hunt Oil Company. And I worked with them after he had passed. And they said about H.L. Hunt that you could take a handshake with H.L. Hunt to any bank in the oil patch and they'd lend you all the money that you needed. You could take a handshake. Said, I shook hands with H.L. Hunt. They said you could have all the money you want because H.L. Hunt's reputation was so good. And then his sons came, especially his son Ray, who I worked with, who inherited the business. And you could take a handshake with Ray Hunt to any bank in America and they'd give you all the money you wanted because his reputation, his name was so good. Now imagine if people said that about you. Could take a handshake with you to any bank in America and they lend you money on because of your reputation. That's your goal. Because if you can do that, every door will be open for you. Every bank, every person, every credit transaction will be available to you because of the promises you make are the same promises that you always keep, and you always keep your promises. Now, one last point is Emerson said the aim of good speaking, the aim of good speaking is for the person to take an action as a result of your speech that they would not have taken in the absence of your speech. And for you to be this kind of a speaker, or even this kind of a friend, or this kind of a salesperson or entrepreneur, you must be clear, crystal clear about the action that you would like the other person to take. And the other person must be crystal clear at the end of your conversation of the act that you want them to take. What do you want them to do and how will they benefit from it? So this is really, really important. This is the essence. I had a long meeting with a man who started off with nothing in a small town in interior British Columbia. Today he's worth $130 million. He wrote a very good book on his success. And he started from the bottom and worked his way up. But here's the bottom line that I wanted to mention. He said the most important skill that you can have to be successful is the skill of persuasiveness. Your ability to persuade people to take an action that they would not have taken in the absence of your persuasion. And that comes back to what you were saying, Christina, about the Speakers Academy and speaking. Is you have to have the ability to stand up in front of people and at the end to have them take an action in their benefit, the benefit of their company, whatever, have them take an action that would not have taken in the absence of your influence. And so that's the key to persuasion.
So when it comes to business interactions, then you basically think about the action you want somebody to take and you reverse engineer the experience.
Yes.
So even with the talk, like for Speakers Academy, it's like, what action do I want my audience to take? And then how does the talk get them there?
But also, I think it's really important because we're talking about persuasion and sales and marketing and honesty, that like you genuinely believe in what you're selling. I think that like the more authentic you are, and like when you're promoting a product or service, or you're asking somebody to take an action to achieve certain results, you have to know and believe that those results are genuinely good for that person. Like the more authentic you are in trying to persuade somebody to do something, the more effective you are. If you're trying to manipulate them or trick them into buying. People are smart and they know. They feel it, they get it, and they aren't willing to listen.
Christina, hold on. Michael, can you full screen Christina when she's speaking?
Lanny can do that. Lanny's kind of like in the background operating. But Christina, I 100% agree. And one of the things that is really cool, especially today, is if you don't believe in what you're selling, go find something that you believe in to sell, right? Go figure it out. Change jobs, change products, change industries, change services. But yeah, if you don't genuinely believe in what you are selling, you're not going to sell any of it. And if you do, you won't feel good about it.
Yeah, then you will need to manipulate to sell it because you won't actually believe it. So.
Dad used to say that you should never sell a product you don't like. So
yes,
or you wouldn't personally use yourself.
Yeah, you just have to like it, and even if you just learn to like something about it, so that there's authentic connection to whatever it is you're genuinely encouraging somebody to do something. You have to believe in it. You have to like it. It has to be something you would use yourself. Yeah.
Well, Apple's a great example. Like if you think about like Apple, how many professional salespeople do they employ? The answer is 0. They don't employ professional salespeople because their products sell themselves, right? People line up. I mean, they have people, the genius bar people, but those people are just order takers. I mean, people are walking in buying those things all day long. So if you have a product or service that's really great, that's basically encourages people to be fanatical about it, like become fans about their products and services, then you're basically turning your customer into an unpaid salesperson.
Yeah,
they're going to go around and sell your So
turn your customers into your salespeople.
I think I've sold 1,000 planner pads just based on that.
What are they, sweetheart, that you sold?
Oh, I use something called a planner pad, and it's like it's like an old fashioned planner, but I love it so much that I literally tell everybody about it, and I don't get any money from it. It's a small company, but I think it's the greatest thing ever. And so yes, I've probably sold thousands of them for them.
Christina, because you're a fan, and when you talk about it, I bet you talk about it with such enthusiasm that people are like, I don't even know if I need this thing, but I'm going to buy it because I like Christina and I like her enthusiasm.
Yeah, no, she got it for me, and I have the same planner.
Yes,
every year. And I've gotten it for friends.
It sounds like you've answered my question. The difference between marketing and manipulation is whether or not the product or service will benefit that person.
Well, and it has to
have a positive impact in their life.
And you have to keep your promise. The product has to keep its promise. Or the service has to keep its promise.
Yes.
Because then your reputation falls apart.
When I learned at the beginning of my career, which has been one of the most important things in the whole world for me, is to guarantee everything I ever did, 100%. So I would say that if you're not happy for any reason, there's no charge. If you're not happy from books, tapes, courses, audio, seminars, anything, if you're not happy, there's no charge. And people say, would you give that kind of a guarantee? I said, yes, you should not have to pay for something if you're not happy with the result or benefit. And on that basis, I worked with companies. I said, look, let's offer an unconditional guarantee. And then I began to study the work that's been done in market research on guarantees. And I found the most amazing thing. If the shorter the guarantee, the higher the return rate. The longer the guarantee, the lower the return rate. So we used to start off by giving a 1-week guarantee, then a 1-month guarantee, then a 3-month guarantee, and then a year's guarantee. And we found the return rate on a 1-week guarantee is 50% or more. On a 1-month guarantee, it's maybe 35 or 40%. On a 3-month guarantee, it's maybe 10%. On a 1-year guarantee, it's less than 5%. And so then I came over some research that said, what about a lifetime guarantee? You can give it back at any time in the course of your life. And you know what I found is that Nordstrom has a lifetime guarantee. And you know something? They're one of the most successful retail operations in the world.
Can you imagine if you got a return for one of these bad boys?
Oh,
which one?
Yeah, it's old school.
That's nice.
We just offer.
I found this on eBay, but it's missing one tape, unfortunately.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because we said, if you're not happy for any reason, you can have your money back, no questions asked. And we sold, as I mentioned earlier, $300 million worth of audio programs over the course of the years because we offered such sweeping guarantees.
This is one of the reasons why Costco is so successful. You can return a product to Costco years after you buy it. I saw a guy return a 5-year-old mattress to Costco. He slept in it for 5 years, and they took it back, and he got a new one.
Wow.
And people are saying, what? That's insane. You can't return a used mattress, but you can. Everything you buy from there, you can return.
Well, you know what's fascinating? You know what's fascinating about Costco is that all of their profits come from their membership fees. So all of their products are sold at cost or really close to cost. And so, like the membership fee, that's their main profit center. That's their product. It's like you're becoming a member. All the products in the store are just like that, an ancillary benefit.
And one of the things that Costco does is like everyone who starts working there, they have to start with grabbing carts. Like no matter what you do, no matter what you apply for, you start with collecting carts in the parking lot.
That's great. No, Costco is a great company, and Amazon, they call it it's the same model as Amazon Prime. They call it it's essentially it's a tax. Like you're paying a tax for like a bunch of benefits that you wouldn't otherwise receive. And so Prime works the same way. It's the profit center is not in the products that they're selling you. It's in the Prime fee that you pay once per year.
And let me tell you a story, which is very famous. Nordstrom in Seattle, they brought in a set of snow tires, 4 snow tires, and they wanted the money back. And Nordstrom's in Seattle never sold tires or automobile parts or snow tires at all, but they immediately gave them the money back. And the reason was that Nordstrom had opened and closed a store briefly in Fairbanks, Alaska, and they offered snow tires because Fairbanks is very cold in the wintertime. And this person had bought the tires from this Nordstrom store in Fairbanks while they were open. They were open for a year and they closed, and then turned them in 5 years later to the Seattle store, and they gave them an instant refund, no questions asked, even though they had never offered the tires before. Anyway, people said, well, how can you do such a thing? I mean, you do that, you go broke, you lose money about it. They said, we got $1 million worth of advertising from that action. It was in every newspaper in America, every magazine on sales and marketing talked about the story of Nordstrom's taking the snow tires back, even though they had never offered snow tires. And the advertising was phenomenal. They sold so much more as a result. So you never go wrong by keeping your promises to your customers, even though it seems expensive at the beginning. In the great scheme of things, it's not expensive. It turns out to be good.
So if you were starting out, Dad, and you created a product, would you start with 100% money back guarantee?
No, I only learned that when I was in my 20s, maybe even in my 30s, when I began to speak, and then I offered audio programs and other products for sale at my speaking occasions. I only learned it then because I found that the more the product is, let's say, esoteric, or a friend of mine used to say it was canned air when you're speaking because you can't hold on to it. So I found that you have to build credibility so your product is more believable. And one of the best ways to make it more believable is to unconditionally guarantee it for an unconditional amount of time. And I studied the subject exhaustively, far more than virtually anybody else in the industry, to find that one-liner is the longer the guarantee, the lower is the return rate.
Well, and one unhappy customer on average, tells 10 people about their bad experience. And so by having a guarantee, at least you're taking that person out of the equation.
That's, well, yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be that a happy customer would tell 7 or 8 people, an unhappy customer would tell 13 to 15. But that was before the internet. Today, an unhappy customer can tell 100,000 people what a bad deal they had. And if you want to check on people's level of satisfaction, you just ask. Now you ask chat. Oh my God, chat will either make you or break you, because they will look for every single unhappy mention of your product or service in the cloud and consolidate it into a quick report and to convince you to buy or not to buy in 30 seconds.
And everywhere else it's 5 stars, right? They've codified it with 5 stars. If you're on Amazon, or if you order an Uber, right, and the guy has 4 stars, you're like, that is a horrible rating for an Uber driver.
Everything is comparison, contrast, and comparison. I learned this many years ago in one of the very best books on selling. Everything that you do, you compare it with what else is available, and it's contrast. How does it contrast? How is it superior? How does it look, sound, feel, smell, and so on? And so you have to win in this comparison, in this contest, if you like, because they're looking at you and every other similar product or service that can do what you offer to do. And you're right, Michael, about the number of stars. I used to think 4 stars. Boy, that's really good. Today, I wouldn't even touch. I look at movies. You look at the movie ratings on Prime, and there's the stars. Well, if it doesn't have 5 stars, which means it's above 90%, you don't even think about watching it. It's phooey on that.
But isn't that kind of a really high bar if we're only accepting 5 stars in terms of reviews? Like that makes it very challenging for new businesses who don't have 5 stars, who are just starting out to really prove themselves, or just, people, whatever, products, services, whatever it is you're doing. If our mentality is shifting to be like, it's got to have 5 stars or it's not worth even giving it a try.
Well, I think as a business owner, Christina, it's a question, right? You have to be asking yourself all the time, am I delivering like a 5-star experience? Is this a 5-star product? Am I giving 5 stars worth of effort?
Yeah, Christina, do you go to restaurants with a 3-star review on Yelp?
No.
So 4 and 5 stars.
I look at the reviews, but I always read the comments. But I will say, now with this whole 5-star review world that we're living in, there are a lot of manipulations that companies do. Like I've had a situation with a company where before they finished the job, they requested a review on Google and Yelp, and they requested a 5-star review before they would complete the job. So if I have to give a 5-star review in order to get the job done, then that's not really a genuine 5-star review. And this has come up in a lot of different places where people are recruiting the reviews in advance, or in a way that's a little more manipulative. So then how do we really trust these reviews?
So Christina, Amazon and Yelp have added something recently where you can go back and edit your review. So if your experience changes, you can go and update it. So if you have a bad experience and you give them 2 stars, and they come back to you and go, let me fix this. How can I fix it for you? We'll come back. We'll do it over. We'll replace it.
The owner of the restaurant, if it's a good restaurant, if they get a 3-star review, they'll reach out immediately on Yelp, and they'll send you a message and say, I'm so sorry about your experience. Please come back. Your next dessert's on the house. And they'll go after all the 2 and 3-star reviews so that they can increase their average. The bad ones will just let them sit there.
Hey, Donna Vita Corleone. Yes, we read the chat. We're reading the chat, and we'll review some of the questions at the end as well.
Please
go ahead, Dan.
I need to pause and thank the people who are commenting on this discussion, because they're some of the nicest people in the world, and I wanted to thank you, each of you, and please, Christopher Lambert and Donnie Corleone and Donna Vita Corleone. That's a great name. And several different people here.
There's a gentleman named Michael who actually thought you mentioned his name. Could you say hi to Michael? Because when you talked to our brother,
Hello, Michael.
he thought it was a moment for him. And
Thank you for each of you for being with us. And I wish we could thank you individually, but you must know that our hearts are with you, and we really appreciate you being here. And I have to tell you a quick story, and it was a Burt Lancaster, the actor story. He played the role of P.T. Barnum in a television series many years ago, very much worthwhile watching. And at the end of this television series, because he started to use a device where he would turn toward the camera and talk to the viewers and go on.
Fourth wall.
Pardon?
Call it the fourth wall. When The Office got famous for doing that, where the characters would look at the camera and
Yes.
include the audience as one of the sort of.
And what is it called, Michael?
It's called the fourth wall. It's when the characters in the show or the movie will look at the camera and acknowledge the audience in the middle of the show.
So here's my point. He turns to the camera at the end, and he said, "I'm famous for having said there's a sucker born every minute." He said he was a great impresario. He brought in some of the biggest stars in the world and toured them all over America, filled the great opera houses and so on. They say, I said there was a sucker born every minute. He said, I would never say such a thing about the people in my audiences, like you. And he said, it is you who makes me possible. And I have nothing but respect for you, and I thank you so much. And I want to say to everybody who's listening, it is you who make us possible. It is you, and you're listening and you're paying attention and commenting that makes us possible. So we like you and we respect you very, very much. And we all who are speakers and work with the public, it's you who make us possible. And we thank you for paying attention to us. So please carry on.
I was going to say, on the topic of marketing, do you think that with the rise of AI and the rise of social media and how things do become viral so quickly, are there any aspects of marketing that really don't apply anymore? The way the way you used to have a billboard or a magazine advertisement, is there stuff that is no longer as valid in today's day when it comes to marketing a product?
Yes,
I think so. Absolutely. Sorry, Dad, go ahead.
No, Mike, Dad, I mean, it's for anybody. What would you say? I mean,
all the eyeballs are on different things, I mean, maybe a billboard still kind of makes sense, but, a newspaper advertisement, a magazine advertisement, probably less effective. When it comes to copywriting, we're just talking about that, ChatGPT, Grok, they can put together some incredible copy. So you get a lot of great ideas really quickly and you can iterate a lot faster. So, I mean, I think it's...
If you're in business, my friend Jay Abraham, who's probably the best marketer in the world today, Jay has some wonderful observations. He said, basically, what holds people back from buying a product or service that they want and need and can use and can benefit from? And the answer is risk. It's the fear of making a mistake. So everything that you do that lowers the perception of risk makes it easier for a person to buy it. And so Jay has a concept called risk reversal. And he sort of says that there's 100% of risk in every transaction. And the question is, who gets the risk and what percentage do they get? And he calls it risk reversal. He said, you must design your offering so that you take on 100% of the risk, and there is no risk for the customer. And how do you do that? Is you offer an unconditional guarantee. You say, if for any reason this transaction turns out to not be satisfactory to you, there is zero risk, because I will take it back and give you your money back unconditionally without question. And that's why the companies like Amazon, companies like Nordstrom, the top Apple, the reason these companies are so successful is because they practice 100% risk reversal. Now, here's a concept.
Dad, before you keep on going, I want to talk to something about this. Something you taught me a while ago, and it's regarding like price versus cost. You said always design your offers so that the cost of not buying is substantially higher than the price of buying.
Yes.
So, we had a few questions also about if Dad ever met Jim Rohn or Bob Proctor.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know them all. Oh, Jim Rohn and I were on the road for years. We spoke together, me in the morning, him in the afternoon, or vice versa. We flew together.
Was Bob Proctor the guy that we went to Australia with? You, me, and David?
No, that was Tom Hopkins.
That was Tom Hopkins. Okay, got it. Yeah.
I've only worked briefly with Bob Proctor. But anyway, one more point. And remember, everybody who's watching this is in sales of some kind. The more you sell, the more profits you make, the better your standard of living. And the key is at the moment of decision that the customer says yes. There's a book or article written called Everything Begins When the Customer Says Yes. Unless the customer says yes, nothing happens. Anyway, we talked about risk reversal, where you offer an unconditional guarantee. Jay has a wonderful concept called risk reversal plus a gift. So what you do is you say, if you buy my product or a service, I'm going to give you this gift. And today, in the information age, it's usually a report of some kind. So there's no cost. You can put a price of $100 on it, and it's a report that's on a subject that's of value and help to the customer. And you say, and if you are not happy for any reason, not only will I give you 100% of your money back, but the gift is yours to keep for free. So it's risk reversal plus a gift, and that's a small idea, but it's one of the best ideas I've ever heard. And so you see now more and more people are doing that. Is they offer you this free gift, which is usually very low cost, but very high value to the customer, and they say, even if you don't like the product, you can keep the gift. And something to think about, something to add on to what you're offering.
All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour. I know Christina and Kat have to go, and they've got things to do and people to see. And this has been another awesome episode. We will put the link for the Speaking Academy in the comments section. Thank you from all of us to everyone.
To let you know the dates, the next Speaking Academy is in November in San Diego, November 11th to November 14th. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely the link is in the chat. Take a look and see if it's something that you want to do, and we'll see you there.
Now, one more comment on my part, please. We talked about it earlier. For more than 30 years, from the time that a businessman with 800 divisions asked me to speak on becoming a millionaire, and I spent 2 months and researched and gave a talk called How to Become a Millionaire, 21 Great Ideas. And I was asked to give that talk over and over again as a 1 hour, 90-minute, half-day, full-day seminar, books, tapes, courses, videos, all over the world, how to become a millionaire in your own business. And I've given a lot of thought to it, and I thought of having a podcast or part of this podcast on how you as a business person can start, build, manage a successful business and become a millionaire in about 5 to 7 years or faster. And if you would like us to expand on that topic and spend more time on how to become a millionaire, very practical, proven ideas. There's now 24 million self-made millionaires in America alone. And there's a standard process for starting from nothing and becoming a millionaire, which I've taught over the years, by the way, and it always works. It's astonishing how people double, triple, increase their income 10 times in their own business, and sometimes just as salespeople. So if you'd be interested in this subject, if you'd like us to speak more about some of these ideas you can use, please tell us in the chat and give us some confirmation. And We'll get back.
And then chat. The comments will persist on I think every platform except for Instagram. So we'll be able to pick through all of those comments. We'll pluck up some really great questions. Those will help inform our next topic and theme. Thank you guys for everyone's attention and time. We know it's very valuable. Thank you, David and Christina and Catherine, for helping me co-host. And of course, thank you to the Brian Tracy for this wonderful experience. Until next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, David.
Love
Do
you.
it now.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Have a
Write
great
it down. Write it down. Do it now.